In today's economy, more people than ever are looking to buy and sell businesses. But how do you do it? Welcome to the Deal Board, presented by Transworld Business Advisors. Straight talk about real deals and real people. Listen to stories, interviews, and expert advice to help your business sale, merger, or acquisition process. Now, here are your business exit experts, Andy and Jessica.
Welcome back to the Deal Board, everybody. And we have a special episode today. All of our episodes are special, but today we get to talk about a company that has lasted 40 years, which is quite an accomplishment. And that company is Transworld Business Advisors. So, Andy, my hat's off to you, but 40 years is a pretty epic run for any company. And I really just wanted to talk to you a little bit before we jump into the show. Tell us a little bit about the founding story. Like, how did Transworld get started?
Well, it's interesting. Obviously, I'm not old enough to be here for 40 years. So I did buy the company. And so it started as a real estate company. Transworld I think it was called Transworld Realty at the time. It was in Fort Lauderdale, in Plantation to be specific. And they started a satellite office on East Commercial Boulevard on the east side of Fort Lauderdale, which was booming at the time. And I guess they eventually got to a place where there was sort of a housing goes up and down here in Florida. And so they decided to close that branch office. But there was a gentleman there by the name of Sid Blake who decided that, hey, Transworld, he was doing mostly businesses. And he had come down from Baltimore and he had been in business. He actually did he wrote jingles for commercials, which was a pretty interesting guy. And so he started Transworld Business Brokers, Inc. and had moved upstairs. And that was kind of like the beginning of Transworld being a business brokerage on its own. And he ran it until his unfortunate passing. And then his wife and, his widow, sold it to the Don and Bonnie Parish, who was here when I showed up.
So that was, so you first started with Transworld about 25 years ago, right? And tell us a little bit of that story, how you came in, I think, as a buyer, and then eventually you ended up buying the company.
Yeah, so I was moving from the Northeast, and we've talked about being from the Northeast. And so I moved down. My wife wanted to raise our family here in Florida, and that wasn't too tough after a bunch of snowstorms in 94. So we came down to Florida looking for opportunity. My in-laws were here and they said, we'll help you buy a business. So I was looking to buy a business and I had looked through all the newspapers, which was the way you looked at businesses. There was no such thing as the internet. And so I wound up running into Transworld and many other brokers. And for the most part, I felt like I was in a used car sales room with a lot of these business brokers at the time. But Don and Bonnie Parish were different. Don was a 30-year IBMer who had worked at NASA and then traveled the world for IBM. So very polished, very, very nice guy from Southern Alabama. His wife's from Ohio, just like, Midwest sensibilities. And they just embraced me as a buyer and said, you seem really confused about what you want to do here in Florida. We think you'd be good at this. So they hired me as a salesperson.
Wow. So, it's funny because a lot of people that end up in business brokerage come in as buyers or sellers originally and end up in this career path. So it's not an abnormal story, right? So then you get into the business, you start working as a broker. How did you how did the transaction transpire where you took the business over from the parishes?
Well, it was just by chance, really. It was just kind of where they were in their lives, right? So Don had taken an early buyout in his retirement to stay instead of going to Texas where IBM went. And so he was 5 years into that early buyout and his retirement was about to kick in full boat. And what was going on at Transworld is we really needed to grow. We had about 5 or 6 people. We had about 30 listings. And it was the computer age and we were all sharing one computer and we needed networking. And, there was just a lot of things that the company needed to grow. And Don had really, didn't want to do that. He was in a different time in his life. And I came here again. My goal was to buy and build a business here in Florida. And I was sitting here as a salesperson and I said, Don, why don't you let me buy Transworld? And I could give all the tools that it needs right now to expand. And so he said, this is a great idea. And so we literally switched seats. One day we closed the deal in 2 weeks, which is almost unheard of. And then we switched seats. He took my salesman's seat. I took his CEO seat, and we started, investing in the business in the things that it needed to grow.
Right. And I mean, that's what we've talked about the story before too of how you grew it into a franchise. But, part of what I want to talk about today is just how the lessons you've learned over the last 25 years. I mean, one thing that we want to address in this show today for listeners is how do you build a sustainable business? Because it's very rare that businesses survive this long. I mean, I think it's the stats are something like 50% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. And in the first 15, like 75% fail as well. So it's pretty hard to build a sustainable business. But, Andy, talk to us a little bit about, I've heard you speak about these keys to success that drove Transworld's growth over the last 25 years and made it sustainable. Like, what do you think some of your biggest keys to success have been?
Well, I think that hard work makes up for a lot of mistakes, right? So I truly believe in working really hard and, networking and getting out in the community. And I talk about becoming a trusted advisor in the community a lot. So I truly believe that, you can create your own destiny. And, I believe in marketing. So first, I believe that you have to go out there. You have to tell people what you do every single day. And of course, you could pay TV stations to advertise for you, or you could pay the mailman to, deliver mail on your behalf. But when you're a, fledgling business, you can do it and these days you could do it through social media. You could do it in so many inexpensive ways. And back then it was literally going door to door, meeting with business owners, going out to charity events and going to, networking functions to get as many cards as I could a day to tell people what we did. And, I always tell people that I truly believe in nice guys finish first. And I hope to write a book about that someday. But i- if you do the right thing by people, and even if it, costs you a little bit of money or it costs you some time to volunteer or to help someone with a problem, it comes back in spades. And we could talk a little bit more about giving back charitable wise as well.
Right. Well, and we have to dive deeper into that. We have a show coming up about doing well by doing good. But I think diving into that topic a little bit deeper in this show, Andy, I mean, you're a true living example of, giving back and really being involved in the community and how that can affect your business. Talk a little bit about, what you do in the community and maybe even some of the charity support and your charitable event that's now grown significantly and also supported the growth of Transworld.
Yeah, so I think, I didn't start out that way. Obviously I was giving back because I truly believe that if you have the ability to give back of your time, treasure, or talent, I believe you should. So I was just starting out trying to give back to the community. I had met someone from LifeNet for Families, which was a charity which has a daily meal and a emergency food pantry where the poorest of the poor go when they're, that's kind of the front lines of charity to get a meal that day or to get food for a few days or to get referred to other agencies to get food stamps and mail and showers. So anyway, I met them through a chamber function and I helped them out one day. And so got on the board, which I didn't even know what a board was. And again, just trying to help. And we were hurting for money. And I looked at all my friends, all the people on the board at the time, and I said, hey, we need to raise some money. And I think everybody should do something, whether they hold a little cocktail party at their house or do whatever. We're gonna have a pasta dinner here at the charity, and I'm gonna cook. And I've been in the pasta business before. Another long story for another day. And so we had a small dinner and we invited all our family and friends we could find, and we raised about $500. And that was 17 years ago. This February, we're going to have our 18th family pasta dinner. And the one just passed raised $240,000 in the one day event. And it also, well, there's a few events leading up to it. And it also attracted 900 people. Now, this event itself has attracted a ton of attention to me and to Transworld. And again, that's not why I did it. I did it to truly help, but it has, gotten me on other boards. And I'm the current chairman of the United Way. I've been chairman of Junior Achievement, and that kind of level of charitable giving and just being a trusted advisor in the community brings back so much more. Teaches you about business. It networks you with the right people. So I think that's truly one of the things that has helped Transworld over the years.
Right. And it's like you said, it's gotten you a ton of PR and recognition in the community. Also, building your network, building your network in the community eventually got you to your partners at UFG when you decide to franchise the business and go global as well, right?
Yeah. So, when we had grown throughout Florida, because, people like success, right? So we were attracting other business brokers. We did some roll ups. We acquired some business brokers. People just joined our firm. And we actively tried to grow into other cities in Florida. And we had done that. We had gone all the way to Jacksonville, Florida, which is on the north border. And we said, gee, how do we get out of the state of Florida? And it was getting difficult to manage offices that are 3-4 hours away. So we said, how do we get out of Florida? And it's like, we really need partners. We need people who care, people who want to invest, and people who have like minds like we do and want to become trusted advisors and good people and doing good things in their community. And so we decided to franchise. And looking into franchising again, one of my philosophies is, you try to go out there to get the tools to succeed, and you got to find those who have those tools. And UFG, United Franchise Group, was referred to us by an attorney. And we went up and visited them. And yeah, they had the tools to help franchises grow. They've done Sinorama, they've done Fully Promoted, Venture X. I mean, Esperamax. They've done a bunch of franchises. And so we chose to partner with them, and they've turned us into this, worldwide franchise. And literally, we're number one in our category.
Right. I mean, fast forward a few years down, like what do we have? 200 offices across, multiple countries. It's just almost every major U.S. market, right? It's just incredible the growth.
Yeah. And, it's incredible. And again, we've attracted some really good people, and it is about people. If you talk to any entrepreneur, and, I've been honored, and I'm also in charge of Junior Achievements Hall of Fame event. And every time a CEO gets up there, and we induct about 4 CEOs a year, they always talk about their partners, their staff, their families. I mean, you really can't win by yourself. And again, being a nice person and giving other people the tools to succeed and sharing in your success, all those people, those are the people who win. And that's what we've done here at Transworld. And we're not done. I mean, we're still writing the story. We've got plenty of territories out there in the world left where we need good people to join us. We have amazing franchisees like yourself and Al and, other people around the United States that are looking for people to join their team. And it's an incredible business. And we're very lucky to have a good model. And, we're going to have more podcasts talking about business models and why it's important to make money and why profits aren't bad and all those kind of things that, there are other philosophies that have gone into making Transworld great and sustainable for years to come. And, there's philosophies like making sure you have money for rainy days and being well capitalized, and all those things play into it. There's no one single reason why we've been successful. But the biggest reason is good people, good business model, and doing the right thing for other people in the community. So.
Right. And it's been an incredible journey for Transworld, for yourself. And really, I mean, it's a good pivot. Like today's show, we also interview Ray Titus, who's the founder of United Franchise Group. And he talks a lot about how his success and sustainability for the company is based on the people that he's worked with and partnered with over the years. And there's a lot of great takeaways in that interview as well. We did that. Me, Andy, and Ray all sat down together at our recent conference that was just a few weeks ago. So there's some great takeaways in there too, right, Andy?
Yeah. I mean, he kind of continues the story of what happened once, he and I met and, we put our companies together, and we have, again, great people like Bill Luce being our president that have literally, Bill's one of, if not our biggest fan, has helped Transworld grow with good systems, good people, smart people getting involved. People want to be part of something successful. People want to be part of something big. And so that I really believe that if you're in a place in the United States and the economy's great right now, and even if the economy doesn't go down, this is the land of opportunity. If the economy does go down, this is the land of opportunity. You just need to be able to sit tight for a little while. And most places in the world have population growth. I mean, most places. I mean, population's growing. It's not going to go down over the next few centuries for any reason, unless something really bad happens. But so you can't help but be successful.
Right. Right. And, today's show really to me is not just about touting Transworld success or celebrating 40 years, but it's about learning from two amazing entrepreneurs between Andy and Ray and just learning how to build a sustainable company, whether you're listening to our podcast because you want to sell your company in the future or you're buying businesses, really this sustainability and being able to weather any storm, whether it's a recession or an upmarket or just shakeups in your industry. Like, how do you build this sustainable business and what are the keys to success? And hopefully you have some really good takeaways from, this introduction with Andy, as well as our interview with Ray.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show. So let's get to it.
Let's do it. Transworld Business Advisors is the world's largest business brokerage and mergers and acquisitions firm with over 500 brokers in nearly 200 offices worldwide. Transworld's team handles thousands of business sales every year. To be connected with a qualified business broker or learn more about the buying and selling process, visit tworld.com/the deal board or call 888-719-9098.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. And we have a very special guest, my partner, one of my mentors, Ray Titus from United Franchise Group. And he has an incredible company that has been around for literally decades. And he comes from a long line of family businesses. And again, we're celebrating our 40th anniversary here at Transworld this week. And I wanted to talk to you, Ray, specifically about longevity in business. I mean, it's certainly a unique thing. It takes a lot of people. You have an incredible organization, but you have multiple brands that have been around for years that you've been passing through the family. I know your dad and has started a business, and you come from a long line of entrepreneurs. So why don't you talk a little bit about, first introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about United Franchise Group and Sinorama, and then go into, how it all got started and how you've kept it going for so long.
Well, thanks, Andy. And first, let me congratulate you for an incredible run at Transworld. 40 years is a lot to be proud of. And we are working really, really hard to take advantage of the great atmosphere that's out there in business and seeing the growth of all the different brands that we have. But United Franchise Group was started with one franchise called Sinorama. In 1986, I started the first store in New York, and we started franchising a year later, and Sinorama over the next 10 years became the world's largest sign company. And another 10 years of building it, we then started adding multiple brands and Embroid Me, which today is fully promoted. And our partnership with Transworld started in my gosh, that was 2010, Andy, I think. So, but since then, we've added a food division. We have the Great Greek and John Smith Subs and Super Green Solutions and Experamax. And so we have 9 different brands in 80 countries, 1,600 franchisees worldwide. And so what I've learned over the years, first of all, I think you preface it the right way by saying great people. Because you got to get great people. You have to hire the best people you can. Always look to get better people than you, smarter people, the best you can get, and then do everything humanly possible to make them happy and help them become successful. And you're going to hear people say, don't get involved in their personal lives. Well, that's a big mistake. Get involved in their personal lives and get them through those challenges that are going on in their lives or whatever it is, because I can promise you, if something bad is going on at home, then it's probably you're not seeing the best of them at work. So I think getting those great people is the key in keeping them happy. But then management-wise, I would say consistency. I'm in early every day. I'm late every day. I'm a hard worker. That's what I've always done my whole life. But I'm very consistent, and so some people would say I'm consistently mad at them, but that's that's only if they're not producing what they should be producing. But seriously, I think that we have a tendency to lean more on the people side, and so we're always going to excuse. If somebody makes a mistake, they learn. You don't find fault with that. That's a great learning example. And, you just try not to make the same mistakes twice and three times. And I guess we call that stupidity, if you start doing that. Right, Jess?
Yeah. What is the Einstein quote? Is that doing the same thing over and over is the definition of insanity?
That's right. That's right. And sometimes we resemble that remark in a bad way, and we have to step in. But today we have, my management now is not the same as it was 25 years ago, because we have 9 presidents, and I have a COO and a CFO and a director of sales and an international director and 9 presidents, and most of them report to me too. So, I have about 13 direct reports that I meet with every single month in a conference room, not in my office, not in their office. And I'm kind of a combination of old school and new school, I think, in that I still believe in manila folders with people's names on them, and every one of my direct reports has one of those folders. In the same breath, we're very heavy with Outlook calendars, and from the technology side, I think we're strong on that side. So kind of balance between the two.
One of the things I've noticed too from you and what I've learned is you've been able to build this culture of innovating and adaptability through your people and through the brand that sustained you through different economic cycles. I mean, growing to different states and cultures internationally. Like how did you breed that culture of innovation and maybe testing, and how do you continue to keep up with the trends as the economy changes?
And that's a great point. It starts with promoting everyone being lifelong learners. So if you're the leader of your business and your company, what I did was actually put a library in my office, in my building. And so in the center of our building is our library, where people can take books, and this is how we learn. This is how we grow. And we don't look for experts in certain fields. We look for great people that are hard workers and that will be willing to accept change. Change is the only thing that's going to be the same for everybody, is that the world just keeps changing, and it keeps going faster and faster and faster. And if you don't have people that are willing to change with what's going on out there in the world, then you're going to be stuck. And ultimately, you will become obsolete if you don't promote lifelong learning. So every one of our employees has to go to a seminar. We have a life coach that comes into our building twice a month and meets with individuals individually and does a group meeting. We have a once a month corporate meeting where we pass out books and we promote. I have a book list that everybody knows and can get that from my assistant. So we're constantly promoting, and I think it becomes before that stage of innovation is you got to get their mindset right, Jess, where they're willing to accept change. And so being lifelong learners, it's hard because, I'm 56 and it would be easy for me to say, hey, that worked. But it might have worked in 1995. And the world has changed a lot since 1995. So just because it worked for me a certain way many years ago doesn't mean that's gonna work again in 2019 or 2020. So I have to evolve. And what we promote to our employees is don't become dinosaurs, because they disappeared and they didn't evolve with the times. And we're going to evolve as a company. So just last year, we turned our company into divisions, where we were having individual brands. These brands now are in divisions. We have a food division. We have a business consulting division. We have a business retail division. Signorama is so big, it's got its own division. There's 800 of those out there. So my son, AJ, who's 27, is the president of Signorama, and it's kind of like everything's going full circle for me. because now we got a millennial running a business, and that's scary enough when you think about it. But we meet every single week. We go through everything. He's brought so much to the table for our franchise owners, but he's got a real understanding of the history. I think, Andy, that we've made mistakes in the past by hiring on the outside at upper level positions, and they did not understand the company, the culture, or the history of where we came from. They knew where they wanted to go, but they didn't know where we came from, and that really didn't help.
Yeah, you hit on so many things, and a few things that I that come to mind was, number one, that there's been a great foundation. So you've laid some great foundations over the years. Number two, you're not afraid to pivot. So you're not afraid to make mistakes and then decide that was a mistake. And I've seen you do this. You've been great at it. Decide that a brand is going to a different place. For instance, embroidery, right? So embroidery was just one little slice of what embroidery did. So, hey, we got to change the name. So you pivoted. That's a huge change. And the other thing that I think you do very well to make businesses last is that you are grooming the next generation. And you brought it up. You brought AJ up. You have some other sons. You have a nephew. You have some family in the business. And they're not getting jobs because they're family members. You are grooming those people. They understand the history. And now they're implementing not only what historically has worked, but now they're able to pivot, and they've learned from you, change. So,
well, I agree, and I think if you're not sprinkling within your organization young people that are going to bring new ideas, they accept technology much better than the older people do. They're more creative. I believe that this next generation is the greatest business generation that's ever lived. I don't think they're the greatest generation. That was World War II. They were the most courageous, okay? Our parents and grandparents. But this generation is remarkable because when we grew up, if somebody was a millionaire by the time they were 30, it was an amazing accomplishment. These kids, they actually know people that are multimillionaires and never left their home, okay? They're sitting in their underwear and doing apps, and it's just crazy what they know and what they can bring to the table. So, when I look at this, not that every single person is, but I was up in Omaha, Nebraska, and met Warren Buffett. And he said something I'll always remember. He said, run your business as if you're going to be 35 forever. And he said, I live by that because why the hell would an 85-year-old spend $4 billion on Heinz ketchup if I didn't live by that? And we laughed, and it was one of those eye-opening things, because I think as we all get older, we have a tendency to become more conservative, maybe take less risk. And that's not going to add to longevity in your business. Taking less risk will lead to the end of your business. So you need to the more successful you become, you don't hold back on making more decisions. You need to make the right decisions. And I'm not saying make them without doing due diligence, but you don't take less risk. You just take more calculated risk. And you can't sit back and count the dollars, and you should celebrate and you should be proud of what you've accomplished, but we should always be looking to improve. And the other point I would bring up for our company is we're very goal-oriented, and we hold everybody to those goals. And I think I've met an awful lot of people over the last year or so that have kind of are fighting certain aspects of goal setting and KPIs and other things in there. And I have to tell you openly, we are strong believers in goal setting. We believe in setting high goals, not low goals. And so from our end, it drives the culture of the company for people to be lifelong learners. They're striving to be better. We celebrate the wins. But yeah, I think sprinkling in those millennials and those young people really helps keep all of us young,
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ray, there's so much good stuff in this interview that you've talked about already. And we've learned a lot from you as franchisees and every time you speak to us. But, if you could wrap up your advice, say, I'm starting a business for the first time. It's my first year in business. And my goal is to build this legacy company over the next 30 years.
Yeah.
What would, your 30-second bite be to me?
Forget the legacy. Earn it today. Focus on today and this week and this month, and have set goals for today, have set goals for the week, have set goals for the month, and don't worry about the competition. When I started Signorama, there was a sign company that had been in business over 50 years in the same town, and everybody thought I was crazy opening up in a retail location. And I was 23 years old, and I was the old one in the store. So, don't focus on down the road, focus on now and what you want to achieve now and get that done. And then let's move to the next one and the next one. And soon, if you keep that up and you add a piece here and you add a piece there, our company, United Franchise Group, is kind of like the snowball going down the hill. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger as we grow. But it's year after year, month after month of constantly looking to improve our people, which improves our business. If you focus on your people and work with them and help them succeed and lead by example, you got to be the hardest worker. If you're the one starting the business, you got to be there before them. You got to stay after. You got to work harder than them, and you got to set the example. And if you do that and you get some good people with you, then amazing things can happen. And don't get caught up worrying about down the road, what's this going to look like, or what's this legacy or anything else. Andy, I don't think you spent a lot of time thinking about what your legacy would be. Last night I was at an award ceremony where you were recognized for the Excalibur Award from the Sun Sentinel. And that's a tremendous honor. But you and I have talked a lot about that, because for many years you were the Susan Lucci of the Excalibur Award, weren't you?
I think I was.
Yeah. And we laughed about it. But you know what? You earned it many, many years ago, but you got recognized last night, and that's an awesome thing. And it was well deserved and outstanding. But we don't do this for those awards,
No, and you certainly don't. When you get an award like that, it's like, wow, I got a conference coming up, and I got something else coming up, and I want to build with business, and I got other things to do. It's, like you said, you just don't stand there and kind of watch and say, oh, now I did it, and we're just going to stand still. So, and one interesting story, I thought it was funny. Somebody walked up to Ray last night, Jessica, and said to him, did you ever think that United Franchise Group would get so big? And go ahead and finish the story.
No, I said, I never thought we'd be in 80 countries, okay? And I never thought we'd have 9 different brands. But when I was at Signorama, when we first started Signorama, and it was in our first year, I would tell all the employees, we're going to be the largest sign company in America. We are going, and they would look at me like I was nuts. Crazy. And I would constantly come back with another order, go out and sell, and come in, put down the big order on the desk and say, we're going to be the largest sign company in America. I'm telling you guys, it's going to happen. And then we started franchising, and we started opening up more locations. And a funny thing happened. They started believing me that we were going to be the largest in America. And then when we became the largest sign company in America with Signorama, long before then, I was already saying we're going to be the world's largest sign company. And actually that became our motto, where the world goes for signs with Signorama. And then we became the world's largest sign company. Quick side funny story. We got recognized as the first franchise to win what's called the E Award for Excellence in Exporting from the Department of Commerce. It's the highest award the Department of Commerce gives. John F. Kennedy came up with this. He wanted to recognize American companies for exporting. And so we were recognized, Signorama, for exporting franchises all over the world. We opened up in, at that point, I think it was 50 countries, and we won the award, and fortunate enough to receive it from President Bush, W, in the Oval Office. And it happened to be on my wife's birthday. And I took my wife, and we went, and we had an opportunity to talk to President Bush in the Oval Office, and it was an amazing time. And it was remarkable. And I couldn't help myself because I whispered in my wife's ear while President Bush was talking. I said, "Now don't expect to go see the Pope next year for your birthday." All right. so we don't do these for those kind of moments. But boy, I'll tell you, when you do get recognized like you did last night, Andy, in for the Excalibur Award, it was great to see and well deserved. And congratulations again, Andy. For
Thank you.
40 years at Transworld and everything that you've been and done to the people. And I think you really are a leader who sees his people first too, and you focus on the people, and that's the key in any business, I think, is getting good people, but focus on them and help them be successful in the business. Because if they're successful, then guess what? You're successful, right?
And that's our motto, and that's where we'll end it. Ray, thank you so much. And thank you so much for everything you've done for Transworld United Franchise Group. You've been an amazing partner. Our 9 years has gone by very quickly, and we have hopefully many more years in the future, even beyond us as leaders. Hopefully the next generation will come along and take these companies, and we'll be talking about these companies 100 years from now. And you just heard a lot of what it takes to grow these companies and sustain them beyond the first, what was it, Jessica?
The first 10 years. I mean, 10 years, most companies fail at that mark. And hearing from Andy and Ray and learning about companies that have survived 30 or 40 years, I mean, these are the keys to success.
So thanks again for coming in, Ray.
Hey, Andy, you know what time I think it is? I think it's time to talk about our deal of the week.
Deal of the week.
Sold.
Welcome back. And as you know, today we're talking about established and sustainable businesses. And joining me to share our deal of the week is Al Fialkovich, the managing director for our Transworld Business Advisors office in Denver, Colorado. Al, welcome back to the show.
Jessica, thanks for having me.
So you recently sold a construction management company that had a pretty established history. So tell us a little bit about that company and that transaction.
So the company we sold was focused on construction and restoration business, mainly focusing on construction defect. So the company, the seller was 35 plus years, owned it for 35 plus years, and it was about $8 million in revenue. The STE was over $1 million, and it was just a really, really nice deal. We found two buyers that were in the telecom business that have since grown the business. It's going to do about $30 million this year.
Wow. Well, it sounds like it was a great transaction. So talk to us a little bit. How did you find the buyer? And then what was the structure of the transaction? Was it financed by the SBA or how was that done?
The buyer was looking at a couple other deals, and this just came on the market. It was in the winter, and we turned them onto this deal. And we ended up doing, the seller wanted to retain some equity, so we ended up doing a seller carry, cash and seller carry on this deal.
Great. And then last question, since this is about sustainability and longevity, what was so attractive about this business to the buyers in terms of the longevity? Like, why had it been around for so long?
It had a really good name and reputation in the market, and just deep relationships with a lot of their clients, and also a really strong employee base. There were over 30 employees that worked for the company, and they self-perform a lot of their work instead of using contractors. So it was very, very attractive.
Great. Well, thanks again, Al, for joining us and sharing this deal.
Thank you.
Hey, Jessica, you know what time it is?
Money time?
Almost. It's time for listing of the week. Hey everybody, we're back and we're talking about listing of the week, and we are talking about businesses that have been around for a long time, like Transworld, and we're celebrating our 40th on this show. And we have Bob Dunphy from Transworld Business Brokers of New York, and he is talking about a special listing that we have that's truly been around for a long time, and we're going to try to keep it as confidential as we can, but tell you about this amazing opportunity.
So this is a really great business that has been around for more than 60 years, actually. It started in 1953. It's a bridal shop. Actually, it's more of a bridal superstore, because a bridal shop is 1,000 square feet, 2,000 square feet. This is 30,000 square feet of bridal gowns, bridesmaids gowns, mother of the bride, mother of the groom, flower girls, quinceañeras, proms, all of that, all in one place. They have more space in their dressing rooms than most places like this have in their entire store. They started as just a women's dress and accessory shop on the Upper West Side, and this is their fourth location. So they've been able to move and upgrade and gone from 1,000 square feet to 30,000 square feet. One of the interesting things about it is that it's not a retail location. As you think about bridal shop, you're going to think ground floor, big window. It's a destination. So they're getting people by appointment. They get people from all around the region. They get people from actually all around the world. And they're making appointments. They're going up there with the whole family or with their entire, bridesmaids team, and everybody was able to get everything they need all at once.
Yeah, it's truly a special place. I've seen the place. It's incredible. It's a landmark. You need to, and it makes a lot of money. We're talking over $1 million of EBITDA. It's certainly something that someone should check out. Bob, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is bdunphy@tworld.com, which is my email, or to make it easier, 917-589-0977 is my phone, gets me right there. And the other nice thing is a recent addition on this business is they are offering seller financing now. So it's $4 million for the business. So I think it's a great deal.
It is a great deal. I've seen it in person, and it's truly something that you could build and have for many generations like this company has already. So don't hesitate. Call Bob today. Thanks for coming in, Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to our show today. If you like the podcast, don't forget to subscribe through your favorite podcasting app and leave us a review. If you have questions or suggestions for the show, visit us at tworld/thedealboard or email us at thedealboard@tworld.com.